Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alicia, and in today's video I'm going to show you what I like to call unplanned meal planning. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I don't really meal plan. I don't know what I'm going to cook every single night for supper. I do like to have things in the freezer that I can pull out quickly, like biscuits and waffles, mostly breakfast items. But for the most part, I'm usually just winging it. However, I like to make sure that I have some meat thawed out and maybe some sourdough going. And we do garden, so for a lot of the year, I can run outside and grab a zucchini or a squash or something like that. And during the winter, when you can't really do that, I do preserve the harvest during the summer. So I normally have green beans or peas in the freezer, or canned tomato sauce for the all-time favorite spaghetti. But on occasion, I do like to plan an entire week's worth of meals every now and then. I like structure. I like having a plan. So this past week, I knew that I was going to be making supper for a neighbor who had recently had a heart attack, and she's doing good and she's at home, and I just knew that I wanted to take them something for supper one night. And several people in our community are doing the same thing, just on different nights. And on top of that goal, I also really enjoy watching Magnolia Table. So I was rewatching an episode where Joanna Gaines roasts a chicken and does a bow tie pasta and a kale salad. If you want to buy one meat and stretch it out for several different meals, a whole chicken is almost always your best bet. We usually eat the drumsticks, thighs, and wings the first night, and then pick all the remaining breast off the next day and make chicken salad or chicken and dumplings or chicken pot pie. The list goes on and on. And then the bones all go in a stock pot for homemade chicken broth. Now, I also watched Joanna make a cinnamon pecan bundt cake, but my bundt cake has gone missing. I don't know if we had a disagreement and I threw it away, or if I made something in one and took it somewhere and never brought it home. I have no idea. So I made 2 loaf pans instead of a bundt cake, and I had planned to send one of those to my neighbor that I'm cooking supper for anyway. I have been doing a ton of fall baking. Even though we've had some 80-degree days, it's been really nice in the mornings, and so I've been doing a lot of pumpkin recipes. The waffles that I was making at the beginning of this video were pumpkin waffles. I made pumpkin scones the week before that, and they were absolutely perfect. My husband is remodeling a bathroom for a lady right now, and I sent one of those to her, and she loved it. I started making scones a couple years ago, and I had no idea how simple they are to make. They're so similar to biscuits. The week we got back from vacation, I made a pumpkin bread pudding, and that was just to die for, y'all. It was so good. I will make that every year. I'm going to make it again in a couple weeks. The only downside is all this pumpkin stuff that I've made. I've had to use store-bought canned pumpkin. The pumpkin that you saw my son holding earlier in the video was one of 2 pumpkins that we got from my pumpkin vines this year. We had a terrible pumpkin harvest, but that's okay. There's always next year. Dusty came home for lunch. I didn't know he was coming home until about 5 minutes before he got here. And he got home just in time to kill a spider. So that was great. And I made him this egg sandwich. Speaking of eggs, I know y'all saw me take those store-bought eggs out of that carton and put them in my refrigerator. our chickens had all but stopped laying probably the second or third week of summer, and by the time this video gets posted, our chickens have been back laying a couple of weeks. We have gotten more eggs in the last couple of weeks than we did all summer, I think. You know, I normally sell eggs in the spring and summer, and with everything going on with my dad and we just had too much going on, we didn't get new chicks this year, but we will definitely have to do that this coming spring because we've pretty much ruled out everything that would cause that, other than the fact that our hens are just getting on up in age, so they're producing less and less eggs. We had 2 chicks to hatch from, you know, just our hens going broody and hatching eggs, and only one of those chicks survived, so we don't have any new hens. It's probably been 2 years since we got new chicks here, and I'm not sure what type I want to get this next coming spring. If you could let me know in the comments, what are your favorite chickens? What are your most hardy? What are your best egg layers? Just what are your favorite chickens? And speaking of chickens, I'm going to get started on this bird right here. I'm always worried I'm going to leave part of the innards in the inside. I never have, but it's just a silly fear that I have. I had some softened herb butter that I put under the chicken skin and also inside the chicken. Speaking of a bundt pan, now I'm not going to do this today, but I remember several years ago I would roast a chicken in a bundt pan. I would stick the middle part, you know, in the chicken and have it sitting upright, and then your carrots and onions and stuff go around the chicken. I may have a video of that on YouTube. I'm really not sure because I know I've done it several years, but now I can't do it because I can't find my bundt pan. Apparently I need a bundt pan for Christmas. This camera angle, you can't really tell, but I put a whole head of garlic in here with this chicken and put some olive oil and salt and pepper on it, and I'm going to cover the chicken for the first 45 minutes to an hour and then take that tinfoil off and let the outside get nice and toasty brown. Now for this kale salad, I had to buy kale, but we've got some planted, it just hasn't come up yet. We've also got turnip greens coming up. And I'm going to add some carrots in here, and I believe Joanna did toasted almonds in her kale salad, but I'm going to do pecans and dried cranberries. Now, my husband is not a big fan of dried cranberries. I love them, but he ate several helpings of this salad. So even if somebody in your family doesn't like just one specific thing, still stick it in there because he loved this salad and he ate the dried cranberries and everything. Speaking of somewhat controversial ingredients, this bow tie pasta has artichokes, and it's a whole can of artichoke, and I did cut them up smaller to where maybe if Lawson doesn't like artichoke, maybe he wouldn't notice it quite as much. And it also has sun-dried tomatoes. I didn't use the whole little jar of those, but I love sun-dried tomatoes. So I checked on my chicken and got started on this pasta that I was so excited about. The pasta also calls for kale, but I'm going to use spinach because I have a bag of spinach that I need to do something with. Recipes are great and all, but most of it is just kind of a suggestion, and I'm going to use what I got. I got some sourdough going. I'm making a couple of sourdough braided loaves. The recipe is basically the same as the sourdough sandwich bread that I make almost weekly, but with braiding it, it just looks more special and looks like you spent a lot of time on it. So I definitely wanted to send one of those to my neighbor along with the chicken pot pie. Now I started to just make one giant braided loaf and send the whole thing to my neighbor. But I'm also thinking about supper for us tonight, and we're having leftover bow tie pasta with some of that shredded chicken added into it, and I know that one of these loaves would be really good with that. Also, since I am making a chicken pot pie, that's a lot of bread to send to my neighbor. Even just this one little loaf along with that is still just a lot of bread. But I know for a fact that this particular neighbor and her husband both love sourdough, so I wasn't going to not send them any bread. Welcome to my thought process. These are so simple to make as long as you know how to braid. They turn out so beautiful, and the dough was really nice to work with. Like I said, it's very similar to just the regular sourdough sandwich bread that I make all the time. The first one I did turned out way prettier than the second one, of course. So the pretty one will go to my neighbor and we will keep the other one. That roasted garlic from the chicken, it's your time to shine. Hopefully this piece of bread will keep me from eating any of this chicken while I shred it. Do y'all struggle with that? And I got my chicken bones on the stove simmering. I'll let it go for a couple of days, just ladling out what I need. And I'm going to get started on my pie crusts for the chicken pot pie. And I needed a double batch of pie crust. I really need a larger food processor because I had to do this in 2 batches. I always use this same simple flaky pie crust recipe that uses only butter. There's no shortening or anything like that in it. And I use it for savory things, sweet things. I just add a little bit more sugar if I'm going to put it in like an actual pie. I keep saying I'm going to make up some of these pie crusts and put them in the freezer. I've never done that, but I'm pretty sure that they would do really well in the freezer. It seems like every time I turn around, I need a pie crust for something, and it would be really nice to have one in the freezer because I hardly ever buy a pie crust anymore. Another thing that I rarely ever buy is cream of chicken or cream of mushroom soup. I always make my own now. All you need is flour, milk, chicken broth or water, a little bit of seasoning, mushrooms if you're doing cream of mushroom, celery. That's it. That's all you need. Now, I ain't gonna lie, there are some things that we buy in the store that when you make them yourself, it's literally a long, drawn out, difficult thing, and you need a million ingredients, and the convenience buy is really a convenience buy. But however, I promise, cream of something soup is not like that. Pie crusts are like that too. It's simple ingredients that you already have on hand, but the pie crust is a little more involved, obviously. Still, I'm always glad to make chicken pot pie from scratch, and I know that my neighbor will really enjoy this and she'll really appreciate that everything was mostly homemade. I kind of wish I had made 2 chicken pot pies and we would have had the same thing for supper because it smelled so good. But when I added the rest of that shredded chicken into that leftover pasta, it was seriously so good. And nothing went to waste, and there are not a ton of leftovers in my refrigerator where they could get pushed to the back and forgotten about, and then they have to be thrown out 2 weeks later when I clean the fridge out again. That's my main goal. Is no, I don't like to meal plan every single week, but I like to have a plan, and that's what this video is about. Even if you don't want to write down a scheduled meal plan every week, as long as you keep things on hand that it's easy to throw together, you've got a plan. And it doesn't involve pizza delivery or fast food. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you are encouraged to cook real food meals for your family as often as you possibly can, even if the every week meal plan is not for you. And if it is, if you enjoy meal planning every single meal and you sit down at the beginning of the week and know exactly what you're going to cook every day, that's awesome. And I want to be like you when I grow up. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you see something that you'd like a recipe for, let me know in the comments. Yes, my oven light went out, so it's dark in there. It's so frustrating. Anyway, I hope that you are blessed and encouraged. Until next time, bye y'all.